6 PM, Monday, October 21st, 2024. I will call this meeting of the Byron Independent School District Number 531 School Board to order. Can I get attendance, please?
Yep, David?
Here.
Heather? Here. Lisa? Here. Jeremy?
Here.
Matt?
Here.
Dwayne?
Here.
Carrie's absent.
Yep. All right, can I have everybody rise for the pledge of allegiance? Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, our vision is at Byron Public Schools, a community of learners committed to making the world a better place. Mission is to learn, share, innovate, and inspire. And priorities are 1, personalized learning in the pursuit of academic excellence. 2, inspire students and staff to develop their character, share their talents, and apply their learning. And 3, maintain excellence in resource management. I didn't receive any public comments, so assuming we've got no public comments tonight. Moving on, did I have any additions or changes to the agenda?
So, no, right? Not to the.
Lisa had a couple of items on the consent agenda
Okay.
that she wanted to pull out to discuss.
Okay, we can either pull them out and discuss them, or we could discuss them when we look at the consent agenda. I'll leave it up to you, either one will be
Okay,
fine.
we just wait till the.
Okay, we'll make sure to ask for discussion regarding, do you have specific which ones they are, just so I can mark them so we can make sure?
Yep. Let's see, the sped teacher resignation
Okay,
under E.
okay. Was that the only one?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so seeing no changes or additions to the agenda, do I have a motion around the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the agenda as positioned with the board, with the condition that we will be discussing C. Randall special ed teacher resignation.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, carries unanimously. Next, we have reports. Marie Kennedy.
I'll let you go ahead.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here and share my annual update about the SPED department. So I'll just kind of click through this. So we're going to talk about where we're at with staffing and positions this year, some student updates, and then kind of with those students' needs that we have in the district currently, and then upcoming events or things that we're excited to share about. So with the ongoing changes in staffing last spring, this is kind of a layout of what our positions currently look like. So we're currently still maintaining 2 positions at our early childhood level. We reduced a position at our primary school, so we're down to 2, but then we slid in a position at our intermediate school. So we went from 3 to 4 positions there this year. We still have 3 positions at the middle school, and we did reduce a position at the high school. So that is where you see that reduction of 1 FTE for our SPED teaching staff. We're still maintaining 4 speech teachers, 1 DAPE teacher. We still have our evaluation manager who oversees all of our special ed evals in the district, and then we have 2 halftime school psychs through ZED. So this year, one of our halftime school psychs is virtual, so that's been new and kind of interesting. She's from Kentucky, and she does all of her testing virtually. So we've worked with technology to make that work.
Have you seen any, I guess, is it, any complaints about that? Being virtual, have you, any hiccups, any?
No, how we've made it work is that she has like a dot cam and she has all of her testing supplies there, and then our evaluation manager actually sits in the room with the student.
Okay,
So it's been working really great, and we can thank Matt Lake and Jen Hagna who helped us get all the technology set up for us to do that. So we haven't had any issues yet. We were strategic though about where we placed her, not with like primary, really young students. And if we do have a student who has more significant needs, we're able to kind of swap out cases, and then our in-person site will take those. So it's been so far so good working out.
good.
And this is our paraprofessional staffing that we currently have. So I know it looked like we reduced a whole lot of special education paraprofessionals, but we were able to absorb our gen ed paraprofessionals. So we still have 4 early childhood special ed paras. We have 9 at the primary school with 1 opening, 9 at the intermediate school, 7 at the middle school with an opening, and then we are 1 down at the high school. So we have 2 openings, and then at the high school is where you see that reduction. And truly, those reductions at the high school are also due to the fact that we've transitioned some high need students up to Z. So really, we were very strategic about if we needed that support or not, and that's why we chose to reduce those positions. And like I said, we did absorb our general ed peers into special ed, so they're now coded 100% to special ed, and they're helping us support those students. And at the district office, my assistant was reduced, but I have been able to get some support from Jenna Johnson, so she is working for me about 2 hours a day and helping out with things that we are working hard to get done. Something that we have done to create some efficiencies is to work with Zed for our MA billing needs. So Denise Flynn is their MA billing specialist, and she's been really helpful in kind of teaching us ways that we can do things more efficiently, you know, with less hands around to do things. And then we do continue to work with Zed for our social emotional needs. Amy Rice oversees their behavior program out there and is always a huge support to us. And then just things that we're kind of gearing up for or looking ahead to is our December 1 child count. That's when we finalize our SPED enrollment numbers. So looking ahead to that, we did have a large amount of students to come into the district this year. So we did start the year with 28 new SPED students, 5 were open enrolled, and then 23 that moved into the district or came up to us from birth 3. So there's just a lot of moving parts. However, we also are dismissing students, and that's always a good thing too. They're meeting their goals and don't need our services anymore. So just looking ahead at some potential staffing updates that might happen. At our primary school last year, I shared that our target caseload numbers are 18. That's on the high range because we do have an evaluation manager who helps our teachers with the evaluation needs. So right now our primary case managers are sitting at caseloads of like 16 to 17. And that early elementary is a time where we do identify a lot of students. So if we do continue to identify students through the year and those caseloads rise, that's the time that I'll reach out to Dr. Newbeck and we'll have to talk about what we want to do looking ahead at that. And then the same in our early childhood program, they started the year with really high numbers with 14 and 15 students. So they can only have a max of 16 students. So again, we have early childhood screenings going on monthly, and as we continue to identify students, we will have to look at staffing for that as well. And last time I was here, I shared with you that we were going to rejoin Zed, and our extended school year programming was going to be offered through them this past summer. So we did that. It was in June, and Byron did host it. So I really don't think our families noticed a huge change because it was in our district. However, there was other students from different districts that were with our students. So it went well, and I think we'll plan to continue to do that next year. It will be in Casson, so that'll be a little bit of a bigger change for families, but transportation will be provided. So the main difference would probably be that their bus picks their kids up a little earlier than they're normally used to and drops them off a little later. And then as far as my district priorities, I'm always working with our building principals on the MTSS process and how we can provide interventions for our students. We had a training, Abe Rodemeyer and I, for K-5 teachers in September, where we just kind of did a refresh on the process, Brad Hacks, learning as he goes too, so he was involved in that and a part of the training. And then I'm still working on implementation of our Lexia reading curriculum. We're in year 2 of implementation, so we did have a training in August before school started to onboard new teachers, and then just keep learning and developing program. And additionally, all of our special ed teachers are involved in the READ Act this year, so that kind of pairs with the science of reading and what Lexia, the reading curriculum, is doing for our students. And then along with just supporting teachers, I'm working with Jen Hagna to try to utilize technology and AI and support our staff in making our curriculum more accessible to students who need accommodations and modifications. And then last but not least, I wanted to share an upcoming event that we're really excited about. Our high school counseling department put this training together. So it's a virtual training. You can sign up through Community Ed, but it is free. And it's an online Zoom course that they've created for parents and students who are looking at the transition from high school to college. So empowering them to use disability services, advocate for what they need in college. So if you know anybody who might benefit from that, we're just trying to get the word out and promote that. It's a good thing for our families. So. And that's it for me. Do you have any questions that you didn't get to ask?
Any
For
other
that-
questions? Oh, go ahead,
Yep.
sorry.
For that event, are the high school counselors then, are they
They're
reaching out to
facilitating.
their kids and the parents and stuff?
Yeah, they've been promoting it, and I'll be promoting it in my quarterly newsletter. It's on the Community Ed website and in the catalog, I believe, so we've tried to get the word out as much as we can.
Any other questions?
I just want to thank Marie for all that she does. As she said, it is a lot of moving parts. A lot of times, a lot more moving in than they are moving out, and trying to figure out how to best service the needs and support our staff, and being in all 5 buildings and having to support and make sure that our kids and our staff have what they needed. She's not in our office very much. She's usually out and about, and then you catch her as she stops and runs through for a minute. So I just want to say thank you, because I know that it's a busy job, and having to deal with Zed as well as making sure that we're following all the laws and so forth that we need to. So she's doing a great job, so thank you.
Thank you very much. Jen Dole?
This is such an informative, I'm like, oh, I like it. Well, thanks for having me too. I'm happy to be able to share some information about community education. I know many of you have seen similar, presentations in the past potentially. So I tried to add some nice pictures to keep things updated. And I just want to start by saying thank you so very much for, over the years, making that Community Education Center a reality. I cannot tell you how many directors, they're like, you have a space that you can program during the day, like you get to have that space to use. And I'm like, yes, it's amazing, and I know it, and it's because of the foresight so many people on the board had to say, yeah, let's invest in that building, so thank you. All right, so just my job is to ensure that we are providing classes for everybody. So when I say student, I could mean a baby or a senior citizen. So students in community education are all ages and actually come from all different communities. While we focus on what our families, a lot of them in Byron, need, we also are open to anybody to come on in. And this is especially important in early childhood, where our preschool, we may serve kids who are from other areas, and that helps them get connected with families and get started in kindergarten. So it's a pretty great system for us to stay open to support citizens in general in our area. But we're really proud of the fact that this last year we served 2,244 individuals throughout all of our programs, in enrichment in particular. So this isn't necessarily counting like preschoolers or anything like that. These are all these fun things that people just it kind of adds to their life, whether it's a social luncheon that they're doing, or it's card playing, it might be learning to knit, it's just all of the fun stuff you think of when you look through that brochure. And when we talk about community ed, there's a bunch of different programs that we really think about, and so they're listed there. I know preschool comes to mind because when we are doing things K-12, we talk a lot about academics, but really I feel like my work with Profile of a Graduate is to make sure that students have that opportunity to do some of those C's in areas that they are selecting. And so really it's so fun for them because they're not being forced there for the most part. Some parents are like, you're gonna get to try this. And so, you know, our young kids are like, oh, but they usually get into it and they enjoy it for the most part. So I'm gonna start with adult enrichment, and here are some of the things that, you know, community education is providing in our community. Pickleball is still the biggest program we have for adults. It is just bonkers, honestly. They can't get enough, and that's one of those spaces where our gym in the building is open for adults. And so from 9 to 10:30, Monday through Friday morning, you can come see a solid group of people just talking, visiting. They have a luncheon once in a while, so it's great. It's great to see them moving and also just connecting with each other. And then we have that wellness studio now, so for those of you who maybe went to school in that building or knew that building, that was the former stage that has now got this lovely floor, and we offer some mind and body kind of activities and dance. The little ones love to watch themselves in the mirror. And upstairs we have a beautiful maker space that Katie Schmidt is really, she is our, like, I'm gonna say our artist in residence. I am so fortunate to have her work for us. She's talented, she's empathetic, people love taking classes from her, she's a gift. And there's 3 wheels in that space, so if you've never ever worked with clay before, I highly encourage you to try it. It's great, very therapeutic, even if you're like me and I'm a scientist by training, and she was like, you gotta try it, and I did. Yeah, it's fun. My first pot didn't make it, but the second one was a little better. And then we have the culinary arts kitchen, and so there's 4 little kitchens in there, much like a FACS kitchen would be, but now we don't have to interrupt, you know, the FACS teachers. They can stay set up and prepped, and we don't have to get into their space. So for instance, today we had a cookie decorating class that Deb Brown led, and you know, it's just great to have that space available. And what I think, again, is what this allows us to do is we have had a significant increase in the number of adults in the programs, and I believe it's because we can offer programs at times that our adults are interested in taking them. A lot of people are busy after school, and a lot of our adults don't want to travel at night in the dark in particular, and so evening classes don't work for, you know, a vast majority of people who are who are taking our classes, and so this has been nice having earlier classes throughout the day, and trying to offer more Saturdays as well. Youth enrichment is our K-12, and so again, we really try to make sure we're giving kids opportunities in areas that potentially they haven't had the chance to. I think the younger generation obviously is very connected online, and so they can learn a lot of these skills online, and so we try to provide them the experience of being in the same place, the same space, and just connecting with each other on a very personal level, which is fun. So whether it's through games or knitting, cooking, all of those things have been really successful for us, and so we continue to try to offer more and more classes and are always looking for new things for the kids to do. One of our new classes this semester at the intermediate school is Dungeons and Dragons, which has been super successful. Rebecca Newsome, one of our teachers, is leading it, and it's been great. And you can see again, more programs are being offered and more enrollment into those programs. So we love that trend and hope that it will continue. Our early childhood family ed got a grant and got that beautiful toy library, so we continue to try to do a lot of outreach, and as well as classroom time, and we've got a Black and Orange Bash coming up on Friday, which are just special events for families to bring their young kids to. And so our, you know, ECFE looks a little bit different in every community, and we are still continuing to try to figure out what do Byron families need, but they love love the big special events, and we're hopeful that they'll use the toy library where they can just pay a very small fee and they can check out new toys and test them out and see, so that they don't have all these toys just sitting around. You know, those of us who've had kids know that it's like 2 weeks and then they're kind of like meh, and so this allows them to have a new toy every 2 weeks, and it's kind of fun. So we'll see how that goes. It just opened in October. Byron Preschool is another program, and so we love this. I think that, you know, we have programs for 3s and 4s and then 5s too. Young 5s who parents are like, we're not ready to send them to kindergarten, can sign up for a year of preschool. Half-day programs, full-day programs, we try to cater to everybody. We're finding the trend is more families need full-day programs because they both are working, and it's hard to get kids back and forth without having them be at school for the full day. Our teachers are licensed Minnesota teachers, and so, you know, they have the same bachelor's and experience that the other teachers have. They're early childhood specialists, and as Marie said, we work with early childhood special ed hand in hand, and so the kids are in the early childhood special ed room there getting some services and one-on-one working on goals on their IEP, and then they push into the preschool classrooms and have that opportunity to, you know, work with peers as well on other pieces. So that's been great. And Zed is a partner with us as well. Birth to 3 is frequently in the building. Early childhood screenings, they're right there. So that's been great. And then Project Kids. Oh, Matt,
I just have a
sorry.
quick question with
Yeah.
respect to having the programs for the kids aged 3 to 5.
Yeah.
How constrained has that been as far as space or staffing versus the demand from the community? Has there been issues at all where people can't get their kids in, or have we been okay?
That's a really, really good question, and I appreciate it. So part of the reduction for me was I had a staff person who was leaving, right? And so we chose not to replace that particular teacher. And so as a result, our classes are very full this year. But there is not a wait list. So preschool, we were able to pretty much accommodate everyone. The pinch point is Project Kids. It's childcare. Our childcare program at the preschool building is full, before school, after school. The day, which in preschool is 8:30 to 2:30, there is space in the day, but the problem is if you can't provide them the space before 8:30 or after 2:30, it doesn't matter. You can have space during the day, and so we recognize that, and we continue to try to hire. But our focus right now is hiring for the you know, kindergarten, first and second grade. That's our biggest wait list, is at that age level, because parents obviously can't leave kids at home yet.
Right.
Once they get to the intermediate school, they can. So as far as preschool though, no, we're doing well. As Marie said, every month we have 2 days which we do early childhood screening, which basically we're just taking kiddos who are ages ideally 3, 4, maybe 5, and we just run through some quick games just to identify any issues that may be there, with the idea that we could get early intervention and help those kids catch up before they get into kindergarten. And it's pretty usual that we'll find like 1 or 2 kiddos who it's like, yep, we need to probably test them and just see if we need to be offering a little more support so that they can have that. So we're going to have more early childhood special ed students before the year's through. That's very typical, and that's gonna be full too then. But we have another classroom in that room because we didn't add a teacher, or in that building because we didn't add a teacher, so we'll be okay.
Great.
Yeah, but thanks for the question. Project Kids, yeah, so as I said, this program's big. Byron should be really proud of the number of kids that we care for. And I feel like, and I'm biased, I recognize this, but I feel like they really work hard to make sure that the kids do a lot of things. So it's not just you're gonna sit in the building, like they get the kids out, they do field trips, they're bringing people in. There's a lot of thought that goes into groups and making sure that they're doing lots of crafts and different activities, science. The intermediate school kids got to do a little, like, they made little I voted stickers. We're gonna give them out on election day, and had a little competition. So it truly is an extension of the school day, and there's a lot of people who spend lots of hours helping, and it's a big program. Wait lists at the primary school, the intermediate school. We hired Erin Bourne this past year, and she's been fantastic. it makes me laugh. I see like one of the new coaches was one of my former 7th graders. Aaron was one of my former 7th graders. So it just makes my heart happy to see these kids coming back into our district. But yeah, so she's done a great job up there, and we've been able to get people off of the wait list up there. But the primary school, we continue to hire. So if there's postings, you know, we get a grant to try to help stabilize the amount of money we can pay these individuals who work for Project Kids. And to increase hourly rates to try to make us more competitive with like a Quick Trip in Byron if that's what they wanted to do. And so I think that has helped. We work with a lot of high school kids. It's an easy opportunity if you like kids to come over, and we work with school schedules. We're out by 6 o'clock. They can have time to, you know, do other things, no weekend hours. So we really do try to give those high schoolers a first job opportunity, 15 years old, and you can start working at Project Kids. So yeah, that's one of our goals. Any questions about childcare? Okay, I feel like I'm just talking at you, so please interrupt me if I get going and I'm not noticing you. Our food pantry, we're getting more and more shoppers. We work with Christine Jostock, our social worker for the district, making sure that families who are in need have the opportunity to come in and shop. It's more and more people are aware of it, more and more people are using it, and it is through the generous donations of lots of community members. This is one of those things where I can't even tell you, we had high schoolers help do a food drive, we've had intermediate school kids do a food drive, churches, just people who are like, we were shopping and we wanted to add a little more food. So it's been amazing, just the generosity in this community. Fairway has always got shopping carts of food for us too, and so we have a freezer that we just started, so there's meat and vegetables and bread now, so it's been great.
Do you ever have a list of needs or anything?
So Kate, this is one of the things that Katie wrote a grant for, and she would definitely know what the needs are.
Okay.
And we try to work with Christine so that if, you know, some of our families don't want to bring in a bunch of stuff, and so then they just give gift cards, and that works as well, and
Okay.
then those just go to Fairway, Quick Trip. Yeah, but we definitely have a list of items that are, I'm gonna say, really popular.
It's either on the website or it comes out sometimes in the community newsletter or
That's what
something,
I
because I
think.
know I've
Okay.
seen it and I've
Yeah.
printed it off.
Yeah, but it's good to make sure, I will make sure that I get that link out there, so,
Perfect.
yes. And I just wanna acknowledge the partners that we have. You know, Rochester Public School provides our adult basic education, so this is for maybe individuals who didn't finish high school for whatever reason that they had going on in their world, and so they can go to Hawthorne and they can take classes there, but more of our people in Byron, actually, it's all online now, and so they can get a GED online. They also have a lot of career and tech programs, so it's great. We're lucky we are so close to a big school district that, like, it's a consortium, so we're in this consortium with KM, with Plainview, you know, there's a number of districts around us who are all part of that. And adults with disabilities as well. So adults who have intellectual disabilities, there's a lot of programming that happens. And we definitely try to make sure that families are aware of those opportunities in Rochester. It's just hard for Byron to get enough individuals to form a large enough group to make a class happen. But if we can make sure our work is to communicate where those events are, then they can find them.
Just because I'm curious, if somebody is looking to get their GED,
Yeah.
what does that cost to have someone get their GED, or is that dependent on how many credits that they need to get?
So from what I have been told, there is not a cost. That
Okay.
Rochester has, all of the funding that would come to us goes to Rochester.
Okay.
So they hire teachers and there is no cost to it.
Okay,
The biggest barrier that I can identify for Byron is if they wanna be there on site, it's transportation. There's not good transportation options
okay,
for, but yeah, there's no cost to it. And if they have
Okay.
questions, they are definitely able to contact me and I can connect them with,
that's cool. I'm glad there is no cost.
yeah.
Would hate to have a barrier of someone getting their GED.
Exactly,
Yeah, cool.
right, and honestly, there are so many programs that, for instance, Mayo Clinic supports, so that individuals can go and get, you know, the correct certifications and
Right.
get a job too.
Yep.
So there's a lot of workforce development in that space. One of the coolest things about the CEC is that Rochester Family Service has been able to have Wednesday senior meals, and we have steadily seen that grow. So it started off with maybe 6, people, adults in the commons, and now there's typically about 20 every Wednesday that come in and they get a meal. It's like $4.25, and the social worker from Family Services Rochester is there, and she kind of networks. It's been great. And that's also Neighbors Helping Neighbors. So 2 programs that I'd say are really a benefit to some of our older seniors in the community. And then we partner with Triton and KM for adult trips. So between all 3 of our communities, we can usually get trips to go. And Christy Favors, the Triton Community Ed Director, fantastic. She is like, you want to be on her bus. That's what I'm told. My seniors, they love her. So some challenges that I think are important just to identify and recognize. Transportation continues, buses are full. So we've got this beautiful building after school, but it is tricky to get all of the kids over to the community ed building right now. With Val being down drivers, it's just not realistic to get 30 kids on a bus. And so we try to push into the schools for a lot of that. Plus, it's not always safe to have kindergartners get on a bus after school. They don't know what our stop looks like. The bus drivers don't know who the kindergartners are for these like one and done classes. And so we've, kind of had to work through some transportation pieces to make sure students are safe, to also make sure that, we can, parents do not like getting calls that their child's not at class and then we can't find them because they're on a bus that they shouldn't be on, and that's scary for everyone. So we avoid that. It just, not good. Other challenges are like, as our costs go up, we often have to pass that on to families, but there is a point at which families are just like, we can't do this anymore. We have to really be selective on what we choose, and that's unfortunate because kids should get to try lots of stuff to figure out what they love, and so that continues to be a challenge. We go after a lot of grants. We're not always successful, but we really try to keep costs down, to provide free programming when we can. Communication continues to be something that's difficult without a newspaper. A lot of people in town are, like, we don't know how to connect with you, so, you're using social media, but that's not always the platform that everybody enjoys, and so that continues to be something we have to look into. I mentioned the staffing. Our building has a limited parking lot, and so I think that is going to, as we continue to make a lot of programming happen in our building, parents for preschoolers have to drop off and pick up, so it is very, if you remember, it's like very narrow, like on-street parking, and so yeah, that will be something I think eventually when we think about what we would add into that space somehow on the property. I think another parking lot might increase safety and provide more parking for buses too, because the early childhood special ed kids do get bus, so that's something to think about. And then the challenge is, of course, as K-12 education has increased, like the staffing costs of it, that's true for preschool as well. And parents have to pay it. So tuition is significant for those of you who have preschoolers recently, or you have family who have preschoolers. It is something that it's a big deal on top of childcare costs. And so helping families manage that, keeping preschool affordable enough that it's something everyone can do, while still making sure that we're not, spending too much money on preschool. We typically, are very close to breaking even in preschool, but I'll be honest, we often lose a little bit of money, as do most preschool programs. And it's always been written off as, it's okay because this is a feeder program for K-12, so, do that, and then we make up for that in other areas. So we try to make sure, other programs are doing really well so that the bottom line is balance, right? But the reality is preschool, you can't do a lot about it. If a family has need, you take the child and you just take the loss on the preschool tuition, and that's just how it is. So we work through it. Opportunities for growth. I think our food pantry can continue to grow, and we need to recruit more instructors. So we hear a lot of things that this would be fun and this would be fun. We just have to find the people to teach those classes, especially at 2:30 when kids get done, or in the evening when some of our adults, our younger adults, have the opportunity for time. And then I think we'd like to continue to find more partners so that we can be a space for them to push into, but they would provide the services. So Wednesday, we have a health fair with a whole bunch of vendors coming in to provide services to some of our, adults in Byron, and it's always very well attended. And our future plans, working with Al Roeder in the city of Byron to talk about recreation and think about what does that look like. We're small enough that neither one of us have a huge budget, but if we work together, we think we can make some things happen. And then to continue to offer more classes, find more instructors, and to continue to seek out more grants. So, yeah. Are there questions I can answer for you?
As you can see, Jen has a huge job, and we're lucky to have her. And she has a lot of things happening. I think one of the other things that we've talked about that is really a challenge is she's talked about having Saturday classes, talked about evening classes, and there isn't a lot of people over there in that building that can be there on Saturdays. And that's one of the things we've been talking with Al about at the city is how can we fund having it staffed so that the building can be open during certain times, because we put that together for it to be busy, for it to be the central spot for people to go, even the community room across from Jen's office, just for people to go in and read and do whatever and play games with somebody, just because it's central in our district. But again, if you also have to make sure that people are there to keep an eye on what's happening, and even if it's just a site manager, and those people cost money, even, and so forth. So that's what I think part of it is, as we grow, how do we staff it, and how do we fund that, and so forth. But those are good problems to have, because you want people, and they're using it, and we just have to figure it out. And if you haven't been over there yet, I haven't sent you a picture yet, but the new floor, was refinished floor from construction, absolutely gorgeous. And if you thought there was 100 pickleballers, now there's gonna be 200 pickleballers, because they get to play on that new floor. It'll be even more, it'll be busier, so.
Yeah.
But thank you for all you do, because you too also have a lot of moving pieces going, and do a lot for birth all the way up through senior citizens, so that's
a
awesome.
pleasure.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Thank you.
Jen?
Yeah.
So like on a Saturday, if an event were to take place, would they rent the space? Would they pay for janitorial services and things like that?
So that's a great question. So typically, like Saturday classes right now are either run by myself or Katie. So we open up the building or schedule the building to be open. Robotics is in our building too, by the way. I failed to mention that. So they are there a lot. And so they open the building as well. And so if it's a class run through community ed, we take a small fee, and that covers custodial. If someone comes in and rents the building, then they would be responsible for custodial. And our policy, and I've kind of worked with Dr. Newbeck on this a little bit, is we want people to use the space. Like our taxpayers have paid for this space, and so we try to get them in there at a very low to no cost. If I can sponsor the activity, for instance, Diversity Club, our council is working with me to do some game nights, and I'm like, community ed will sponsor them. You can get into the space, see if it works for you, and then from there you can go, right? And so that's kind of how my approach has been. Let them try it out, see if the space works. If it does, great, then invest in using it moving forward. But otherwise, yeah.
Unfortunately, we'll have to be creative, because we don't have many custodians anymore on site. We have to sometimes use Arnold's and see if they're available, or sometimes, we don't want to burn our guys out either, so we just have to try to train people to be site managers that can go in there and open it up and be around and be there to supervise and have the spots open. But
The community ed building, like when I think of youth tournaments, which are typically our Saturday events, the one gym is not, they'll use primary school, they'll use middle school, they'll use high school. So I don't see those sorts of things happening very often at our building. But yeah, a Saturday event with a large gathering would be something that we would probably have to staff internally and find a custodian who wanted to get some overtime.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then can we just contract then with Arnold's and have?
They have been, at my building right now, I actually have Monday through Friday, we've got a Byron employee on site. So we've got two Byron employees in the community ed building. So that's the luxury that we have. They don't flex to Saturdays, unfortunately. But, yeah, if we needed Saturday coverage, I think, what we would probably do is put it out to our custodians first to see if they wanted overtime, and if not, I would, with
That's what
Mike's blessing, reach out to Arnold's to see if they wanted to cover,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm just thinking of some of the, like the game nights, so we're
Yes.
doing December sixth, but that's a Friday, right?
Exactly, yeah, it is, and Jay Batty is our custodian in the evening, and he's there until 10 o'clock.
Okay,
And again, my hope is that we can treat community like adults and say, clean up your mess. And as long as they can handle that, then, you know what, then you can use the space and we won't worry so much about that. If they leave a mess, then obviously that's gonna have to be a privilege that we'll have to probably revoke, or at least say, you have to have a custodian on site. But a lot of our adults use the kitchen and do such a good job cleaning it out. So my hope is that will continue.
Any other questions? Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, you guys.
Next, we have the financial update.
All right, so, Julie Sink, who is our interim finance director, couldn't be here tonight, and a lot of you received letters this weekend, explaining kind of our finance update, but I wanted to just bring it to this board and answer any questions as we go through, and moving throughout. We are still trying to fully close out FY '24. We have all of our reconciliations to Region 5. However, as they go through that, then they're identifying more ledgers or more journal entries that need to be looked at. They flag them. It may be the budget compared to what they see is off, so, and there just doesn't seem to be something right. So they bring it back to our business office, and they've been doing some investigations. At times, things have been either double entered, like a voucher or something was put in twice. Sometimes it was coded to the wrong area, so it was supposed to be here, instead it was coded here. And all that changes all those areas and changes the bottom line. And so unfortunately, that's why we still don't have where we're at for FY '24 and be able to say, okay, here's how much, here's where we're at after FY '24, here's where FY '25 is, and this is what it means, you know, for FY '26 if we do not pass the referendum and so forth. That's been very difficult. So that's kind of what today is about, is just to kind of be able to put out there. And that's what that letter was about this weekend. There's a lot, I understand there's a lot of people who are frustrated. There's a lot of people that would like to close that door, including me, no one more than me at this point, because but I also understand and see what the business office has to go through and see how the numbers change with just one of those flags that come back from Region 5, and then something needs to be changed. So we, again, our goal at the beginning, when Julie had started, was to make sure that all the numbers were verified and were true as we move forward, so we're not guessing and then making plans that weren't good plans. So again, I apologize that it's not done, but they are literally, they started from last June, or last July, and we're going through each month, going in what was already in those for the reconciliations, and then all through the of June of this past year, and making sure that it's all correct. And like I said, also, we've been putting things in and ledgers in and journal entries in for July, August, September of this year with Region 5. So we're hoping that once FY '24 is done, then that will be a lot quicker process to be able to close out the summer, or to catch up, so we can be giving you reports at this time. So again, I apologize, but again, we want to make sure that we're doing verified and true numbers. The audits, because of this, the audit's been moved to next Monday and Tuesday. Our business office has been helping Cecil, who we've hired for some hours to retrieve the necessary information. They get all that together at both the federal level and the state level, bring all those reports together, and then they work with the auditors. What else do you need? What else? That sort of thing, and make sure it's all in order,
make sure it's the right numbers and so forth as well. So they are in the process of doing that. It is the busy time for places like Region 5 and for CISO because they help so many schools in the audit process and so forth. So we really appreciate all the work that they've been doing. People have that work with CISO part-time. They have a full-time finance director job, and then they've been doing things for us in evenings and weekends to get us caught up and so forth. So I really appreciate them doing that. Much of FY25 budgets have been placed into our finance program. Julie Sink in the business office has been working really hard at looking at expected revenue, expected expenditures, and so forth the best they can for this year. And then, looking at the reports that need to be done, looking at all the different funding streams that come in our way, and making sure that we have all those coming this way. So it's been a little bit of time to get that in place, but for the most part, there's a couple areas that don't have them yet, but for the most part, our administrators, our buildings, our teachers have their supply budgets and so forth. So now when they go in to make orders, they can see how much they have to spend, what they have to spend it on, and so forth. So, and again, remember that we have our new process spending, and so people are using purchase orders. They're doing a good job with that, and it has to be approved by both the school administrator and the district office in order before the purchase can be made. So that's been helpful to try to maintain and be able to monitor the spending and so forth. And now it's will be even better for us as now that those budgets are put into place, that we can monitor that even closer moving forward. Advisory committees, earlier this summer after last spring, you as a board asked me to put together 2 advisory committees. One of them is of staff and the other one is of community. And we've met a few times. Staff have met a couple more times than the community has. Their task is to review previously made recommendations that were made in the spring with staff and community surveys. And some of them we did with the recommendations, some of them we did not. So to go back and take a look at those, and then also to discuss the impact. We asked them to look at those in a certain lens when it comes to students, staff, community, and then also we're also asking them to come up with any new ideas, to go back as like staff members, to go back and talk to their coworkers, be a communication tool. What are they hearing? And then also come back possibly with new ideas. It's been slow, I will just tell you, because we haven't had the numbers. It's been a little harder to do that. These committees are also not decision-making committees. These committees have a voice, but so that when we do have to make those decisions, these areas have been vetted out, have been talked about and discussed by both staff and community members. And then we'll take those that information and move forward. That's why there's at least two administrators and 2 board members on each of those meetings and so forth. So as we move forward, the first people have asked, well, who's on these committees? So I just put them up here. They represent different buildings. This is the staff. They represent different grade levels, different areas, and then this is the community. They also were recommended by some of you. Some of them have offered back when we were putting these together. Some of them are PTO members, and so we try to get a wide range of also, again, of our community to be able to talk to people and go out there. Some of them have been leaders of many of our groups already. I know one's the leader of a spirit squad, one was the leader of the dad's group in the morning, and it's just been involved in our school district, so that's why they were asked by us to do that, because they were nominated sort of by administrators. So each group has met at least twice, and will continue to probably meet as we move forward. And I just want to, I know I sent it out, but I want to go through real quickly some of the things that we have talked about. And I'm not going to go into detail about each one of them, but just know that, and what we've been telling people is these have been discussed, again, using that lens what would be the student impact, what would be the staff impact, what would be the community impact with those. And so the administrative personnel, licensed teachers, kindergarten specialist area, academic and mental health interventionists, clerical staff, hours and days, nursing staff. We've talked about one-to-one Chromebooks and iPads, what would that mean? We've talked about curriculum, reducing or eliminating staff development time, eliminating contracted staff development presenters. We've talked about our firefighter and CNA classes and EMR classes that we contract out with, and then, you know, mentoring classes, a lot of our different type of electives.
Good question.
Yes,
Going back to nursing staff, so aren't we done with that now? Because we went from 3 down to 2.
we went from 3 down to 2, but it was also brought up that if we were to look forward, because for a district of only 1,000, or a district over 1,000 and less than 5,000, you only need 1 licensed school nurse. We have 2 licensed school nurses, so it was just something that was brought up again as discussion. Do we look at going down to 1 and do that saving? Now, again, these are all discussions and something that we would bring forward, but I think it was important to bring, because it was brought up in different ways, so, okay. Again, I just want to emphasize, there have been no decision made, and so forth. Some of these have bigger ticket items, meaning that it would save more in other items, but they would have a larger impact on our district. So what we didn't want to do is put out items and say, this is gonna be absolutely reduced or cut if we don't pass the referendum, and then we didn't need that much, and we put a lot of effort. There's still, and I'll talk about the process in just a minute, but is there a change in instructional delivery, for example, away from block scheduling, or do we do something different to reduce the number of electives at the middle school, high school? Do we reduce gifted and talented? Yes.
How would changing from a block schedule back to how it was a long time ago, how would that save anything?
Because for example, just to make it real brief, you're going from 16 offerings to, if you use a 7-period day, you're going to 14 offerings. So you'd have less electives that they would take, it'd be less staffing, or even less classes that they would need. In some districts, I will tell you, just from personal experience, when my previous school district, when I came and began a middle school principal, they had just left the block schedule in the middle school, and depending on how you run the block schedule, they saved $300,000 by moving from a block schedule to a regular 6-period day. It was a 6-period day, but because you said, there's lots of different models. Again, these are just things that are out there, but I also know that that there's a high expectation in Byron for a lot of things, and things have been done a certain way for a long time, and they work well, and there's nothing, it's just a matter of when you look at if it's as much as the model said in the spring, that there's some pretty, in order to make budget, we're gonna have to make some big decisions. But these are things, that's why we brought them up to these committees to talk about what would that mean, and what does it mean for electives and so forth, as well as class sizes and so forth. So, and then eliminates student assist opportunities. For example, we have teachers who who monitor that and as part of their pay. Reduce contracted days for teachers. So do we have 1 less staff development day, for example, and not paid teachers, just have 1 less contracted day for them? Freeze all field trips, PK through 12. Somebody brought up a 4-day school week, and that was very interesting conversation, and it's hard to say how much that would actually bring in, save, depends on the type of model you have. Other school districts do it because they have to attract more staff and maybe more students, so they think that that's the way to do it. A lot of school districts in other states do it, but it was just something that was talked about. Again, no decisions have been made on anything. Reduce the number of athletic coaches, reduce the number of activities or clubs, eliminate middle school sports was talked about or brought up, reduce the number of sports offered. Again, these are all big decisions that once we do understand where we're at, any of these could be brought up as yep, here's how we're gonna meet that need. And Reduce transportation, for example, for athletic teams, for games, if they're going to Casson, Stewartville, Pine Island, and Rochester, to have the parents or the kids get themselves there for certain sports and so forth. I know that that's done in other schools, and when they're close by competitions. Charge students to attend athletic events, and right now, we don't charge our students to get in, but you charge them a small fee or whatever, and then how much money would that kind of bring in? Additional charges for school transportation, we've already started that this year. Additional charges for parking in high school, sports activity fees, we started some of that this year. And then look for more grant opportunities. Those are great, and we certainly want to do that. But sometimes, as you heard Jen said, you apply for a lot of grants, but sometimes you don't get it. And the grants that come up with the big money in the state is the ones that are for the districts that have the high number of population of cross-categorical, free reduced lunch, ELL, those, and we don't have that, so a lot of times we're already kind of kicked out because of what we don't have. So these are just possible situations that we've had this conversations about and be able to vet some of those ideas out. And then we've also talked about, what can we do school-wide, make some reductions inside buildings. I know that our principals will be, and having discussions with their staffs, we talked about that. We talked about, is it something that we do contractually to help out for a year or two? I mean, there's just a lot of options, and as we move forward. And this isn't a scare tactic. I don't want to use it as a scare tactic, but I do want people to understand, here's what we've been discussing. Here's all the things that are right now on the board, and there might be other ideas that come out between now and knowing what that number is, and if we pass a referendum or not. But if we don't pass a referendum, we're gonna have to, make some reductions. If we pass referendum, I'm hoping that would, that we've made that, how the numbers might come out, that we might minimize or even eliminate some of those reductions. We won't have to make them for 1 year or so, or even longer if we move forward. But we just have to be prepared. We're just not prepared at this time to say exactly this sport or this item is gonna be cut for sure at this point. And also, some of them don't have exact numbers. We'd have to go and see. It also depends on if you were to cut a staff member or reduce a staff member, how veteran are they? How did they take insurance? They not? So you have to see exactly, you have to start adding those up. But again, this is the conversations that we have and will continue to have as those advisory groups. And again, their job was to not tell us you need to cut here, here, here. It's to say, if these were reduced, what impact does that have on our staff? What impact does it have on our community and our students? How do they see it? And then also for community members, a four-day week would be really hard on community members. Unless you find something to do with daycare and so forth. And those are the challenges that we would have to discuss if it got there. And then what exactly would that cost be at that time? So.
Are the numbers being, not really ran, but is someone looking into how many kids are in the firefighter program, the CNA,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff?
Yes, I've asked the high school staff to give me those numbers, and
Okay.
we're having a administrative meeting on Thursday to start talking about the what ifs down the road, but really what I want to talk about is what are those things that we can do before we have to reduce? What are some of those revenue type funding things? What are some of those things we can do inside of our buildings and so forth to be more efficient and stuff where we don't, and try to do those things first to see where we're at, and then we'll see where those numbers come out of, so.
How long do we keep playing the game? I mean, October 28th is the second audit that we have set. What if we don't meet that one? Where do we continue to go? How far do we keep pushing this down the line? At what point do we say enough is enough and we just have to make some decisions? How do we know spending right now? How are we moving forward in spending? Are we looking at previous years saying we're spending less than we did last year? Or are we, I mean, how are we operating right now without knowing where we're at? I mean, to me, it just seems like we're just kicking the bucket down the road and we just continue to be in the same position that we're in, caught with our heads between our tails and not knowing where we're going.
Well, I can tell you that, if you were to set a deadline and say, okay, whatever next week is, that's what we're gonna plan on, and then it ends up being a lot different, there's gonna be a lot of different changes that happen at that point, and I don't think that that would be the most efficient at that point. We do remember, and I just want people to understand, that from the beginning, the plan was to try to get these numbers, to try to get the audit done, to try to verify those numbers, to be able to have our October 1 numbers, which turned out better than what we thought they were for enrollment, and then also then see where we're at with the referendum, and then come together and get a final number, and then we still have November, December, January, and February to make the plans, to be able to make the reduction plans. So we have some time to be able to do that. But again, I don't want to come out with wrong numbers, and there's been a lot of things that needed to be changed over, and it was a whole year's worth of things that needed to be verified, looked at, and they're still coming through, and still have to be verified, looked at, and redone in some, in many cases. And we're pushing as fast as we can when it comes to Region 5 and saying, where is this at, and so forth. And I know that we have Julie Sink for 3 days a week. I also know that she's doing things on the days where she's not scheduled to work with us, because she understands that, yeah, there's a lot of people that want numbers, and the sooner we have numbers, the sooner she can do some planning. This year, she's going by what she knows that we're gonna be getting off of the expenditures and the revenue to set those budgets right now, but she knows that until she figures out the other part, it's probably lower, and then because of the numbers that she has, with the revenues that she has, with what our adopted budget said was, she knows that those might not be the case. So every year, then you do a revised budget. Once all those numbers come in, you do a revised budget, and then you can change those numbers moving forward. Again, do we use other numbers? Yeah, we use other numbers. I've been watching payroll, for example, and comparing payroll from last year to this year, and where are we at? And thankfully, haven't been ahead in any month of payroll from that exact time last year to this year, which when you look at, and that might be because of the reductions that we put in place, might be, but we still had people that did take increases this year, and yet our payroll has been slightly, it's not a lot below, but it's been slightly below. It's not way ahead where we're outspending that way either. I know that people are nervous, and I know that people want numbers, and they're like, enough's enough. I get it, but I can't say enough. When I talk to other superintendents, I talk to other business managers, and Julie Sink, who's very, very experienced, is that you can't really move forward until you really have that number, until you can really see then what effect. Because if you were $1 million lower and you cut $1.5 million, that's a lot different than if you were only $500,000 or $2 million to $1 million to $500,000. We don't know where we ended up, but we do know that we reduced $1.5 million, and that makes this year a lot different looking, and that makes next year a lot different looking. I do know though that when we set the $1.9 million or the $800 per student for the referendum, or for the operating referendum, that was to help us for all 10 years, because we know that there's gonna be challenges moving forward, and now we know that we're gonna have that decrease or leveling possibly, that's what of enrollment, and that's our revenue. And so those people, I don't think that we've overshot or undershot the $800 per student, because over the next 10 years, I just think there's a lot of challenges that we foresee happening, that we're gonna need to build up to that 8% or a little bit again for our fund balance, have some cash reserves, so we're stronger that way, and then be able to handle those challenges moving forward, so.
Mr. Chairman, Dr. Newbeck asked one question, trying to get back towards David's question. we're not gonna get a number back from anybody until they're comfortable that the numbers are right, correct?
Correct.
So the long and the short of it is, we can want for it all we want and ask how long are we gonna kick it down the road. Nobody's gonna give us a number back because, in my opinion, with the situation that we're in, nobody wants to make the situation even worse and end up in the newspapers because it being, you know, an issue again. We're not gonna get anything back until they say, we are confident that these are your numbers. So we may end up kicking it down the road a couple more days, I would guess. But I'm hopeful, like Dr. Newbeck is, that date, 28th, 29th, that we'll get it. But I just don't think that anybody is gonna come forward and say, we're confident these are good, unless they're confident the numbers are
So,
good.
and just to also say that, you know, once Julie gets them, we're hoping that, again, we've been hoping for weeks that'd be this week, but, you know, that those numbers then would go in front of the audit next week, that CISO is able to do what they need to do on the federal and state grants and so forth, and get that stuff in, so that audit can verify those numbers that we've also seen. The audit could come back and say, oh, you didn't, this is missing, or this part should have been coded here. That's what you have the audit for, to come in and double check your numbers and so forth. So, again, I get it, and I would love to be able to say by tomorrow we'll know, or whatever, and otherwise we're just gonna go with what we have. I think after talking to a lot of people who've been in this situation, maybe not waiting this long, but they wait for numbers before they make their plans, that we're better off doing it that way. Otherwise, it just causes for more issues down the road.
Comment. So, but how could we not have any numbers? Because at our October 7th meeting, you had said that we have, the corrections have been completed each month from, I think it was July, I wrote it down here, July 23rd through May 2024, finishing June this year, so June 2024. So don't we have some numbers?
We have some, but there, again, like I said, what happens is, then they do June, and then they do what they call FY 24, 13 and 14, because you have all the encumbered numbers, all the ones, the bills that come after the fact that you are expecting. So those come in, and then you have to reconcile those. And then what happens is, for example, they come back, and like I said, maybe a certain area came back a little bit over budget, and there was a red flag, hey, we, you know, check these numbers here. And so then Julie in our business office has gone back and saw that things were miscoded or done twice. So, yeah, we have all the stuff in, they're doing all that work, but then when they come in and they see things that are miscoded or whatever, then that could change, because maybe that coding should go to this area that's paid for in a different way, and not through our general fund. Could be something got put in twice, so now you can take that out, and now you end up with more or less, depending on how it was. So it's all the stuff that's in there, but then there's also that finishing part that goes with it, and then verifying those numbers, and that's what we're doing now, is spending time to verify, because they'll send some things back and say, check these numbers, check where this is, this doesn't seem right, and then they have to go in and do that work, so. As soon as I have an idea, as soon as I know, I will certainly be putting it out to people, because I know people all want to know, and so do I.
Any other questions before we move on?
So I think the last part of the schedule moving forward is that we will have the election results, we'll have the audit results. We'll be doing, at that time, after that, then we'll be working with Julie Sink to look at what that means for the 25-26. If there's gonna be reductions that need to be made, how much needs to be made. Again, there's a lot that goes into that. And then between November and February, the leadership team, we'll make a recommendation to the board about those reductions. And the board, if you remember, we did this in the spring, will give the directive to the leadership team to go ahead and make plans, cutting or reducing this much money, or at that point. And so then we'll have November, December, January, and February to make those plans. we'll come back at some point when we feel like we've reached that, because if it's not as much as we thought, maybe it won't take as long to do that, but there's still a lot of planning, a lot of things that need to happen at many levels, school level, the leadership team level, the board level, and then we'll come back and make those recommendations, and as we did in the spring, have a list of make the recommendations of reductions and the reasons why we would do that. And then also at that point, we would be going out to staff and community to explain that. So if we're bringing the recommendation for reduction of a program or something, we would certainly be letting the staff know that that's gonna be coming in front of the board. So if there's information that the board needs or that people want to speak on, as we've done in the past, they can do so at that time. So it is a larger process as we get moving forward.
Do you feel there's gonna be an issue between November and February, having two different boards during that time frame?
Well, we'll have to spend a lot of time getting the other board, whoever the new people are, caught up to speed and so forth, and trying to help them understand what that is. In the perfect world, yeah, it would be great to have this board who's been part of this process and to make those decisions on that December 16th, but I also don't want to rush into decisions because that's what happened in April and May, and it became a pretty difficult situation. We have our longer, as we say, a longer runway to kind of make those decisions. We'll just have to get the new people that are on the board, the information that is brought to you as board members, and then help them make the decisions also moving forward. Again, if it's not as many recommendations and we can do so before that time, we'll certainly do it, but I don't know when we'll have exactly the number where we can start moving forward. And I'm not sure if a month would be enough time to make that happen.
I think the biggest thing we can do, the most important thing we can do is continue to push information out to the community and those that are running for the board. Make sure they're informed as much as possible.
I would hope that after the election that the candidates that are not currently on the board would be willing to attend all of the meetings going forward. I was kind of surprised that not everybody's here tonight.
Yeah.
But, so.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions regarding the superintendent before we move on? Or finance update, sorry, on to the superintendent report.
Superintendent report, the end of the first quarter is next Friday, the 25th. The first quarter, I'm sorry, the typo, has been successful, and I want to thank all the students and staff for all that they've done, and being in buildings every day, watching them working together and finding success, and just look at all the things that have happened this fall, and when you walk in the building, it's just awesome to see. There is no school for students on Monday the 28th, that's a staff professional day, and on Tuesday the 29th, that's a staff development day where our staff will be doing the REDAC training on that day. The day before, the professional day, is where they do their grading and so forth as well. So, and then also postseason has started for our fall sports. We're in the middle and towards the end for some, or at the end for some. Postseason for cross country and soccer, football, volleyball. So they've been started and going. The boys soccer team won their first round section game, but then lost to the #1 seed. They had a great season, and our cross country team will compete this Thursday in sections, and then the volleyball team will be playing Wednesday night here at home at 7 o'clock, and the football team will be playing at home on Saturday at 1 o'clock here. So it's an afternoon game, and they will be playing Winona on Saturday. I don't know who the other teams are playing at this point, both the volleyball and football team. I want to congratulate them. They were conference champions. It was the first time since 2002 that the football team was a conference or district champion. So they've had a lot of success, but never could get that conference championship. I also want to especially acknowledge the girls soccer team, as they are the Region 1 AA champions. The win last week, 1-0 over Winona. They'll be playing tomorrow against Academy of Holy Angels. So in Eden Prairie at 5:30, if you want to take the trek up there. It is being streamed, but it is a fee to do that. You can find that information on our high school webpage, activities page. But good luck to them. Also, the school board candidate forum, the teachers union, the Byron Education Association is hosting a forum for the 6 school board members, candidates, tomorrow, Wednesday here at the high school. So that starts at 6:30, volleyball game's at 7, so once you get done to us in there, you can come over and cheer on the volleyball team. Each candidate will be posed with questions about various topics, and remember that we have 4 vacancies for those 6 people, so people will choose 4, and they will be for 4-year terms. But that will be here, and it will be great for us to hear from the different candidates. I want to say congratulations to Ms. Newton. She's a 5th grade teacher. She was the recipient of an Outstanding Teacher Award and received a check to be used for classroom supplies from Ultra Bank of Rochester. So I want to congratulate her. And I want to say that the vacancy was posted last week for the Executive Director of Finance Operations. And so we are taking applications through this week, and then we'll look at setting up, we're hoping for interviews possibly next week to try to get them on board. And we do have some applications, but again, we'll see what comes in, what experiences and so forth they have before we decide interviews process at that time. And enrollment, I won't pull it up, but we are at 2325 right now, so we're holding steady right around the 2325 mark, so that's good. Any questions?
That's higher than predicted originally,
Well,
wasn't it?
remember, so that's the other part, that's all part of, when we did the adopted budget, it was for 2,300. We were expecting 20 less kids than what we ended with. But we're now at 2325, and you're at 2324 on October 1. Last year, we were at 2312 on October 1. And that's the numbers they use to start your funding, and then it can kind of go up and down a little bit, but that's where you get your major funding, that's the number they use. So we're only up 12 students from last year, but we're up 25 more students than what we budgeted, or 24 more students than what we budgeted, and so that's a good thing, so.
Good news. Any other questions? All right, moving on, seeing no old or unfinished business, so on to new business. First is action on updated health safety program handbook.
Yes, so we talked about this at the last meeting. So we have a health and safety program. We've had Tom Helcott from IE help us revise this, put this together, and I'm just, there weren't really any questions with it before, so if there isn't any questions with this, again, this time, I just need to have approval of this.
Any questions or discussion?
Motion to approve the updated health and safety program handbook as presented.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Carries unanimously. Next, action on second reading of policy is the only policy is 413.
So 413 is about the harassment, violence, and bullying. If you remember from last time, the only thing that we changed on this is if there is a complaint against the human resources or human compliance or person or superintendent, it would go to the school board chair instead of the high school principal. Many districts do that, and then at that point, the school board chair can decide how to do the investigation or work with our district school lawyer to decide if there needs to be an investigation, independent investigation and so forth. Instead of putting it on the shoulders of the high school principal, it would move to the school board chair.
Any questions?
And that's what other districts do? They do the chair?
Yeah, a lot of times they'll do the school board chair at that time if it's against superintendent or some people have human resources, so a lot of times it goes to them, and then if it's against the human resource, it goes to the superintendent. Or if it's against the superintendent because we don't have anybody else, then it would go to the school board.
Questions, discussion? I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the policy 413 on harassment with the updated changes to include the board chair for reporting.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, moving on. Action on assurance of compliance.
Yeah, so we have to do this each year, and what this says is that in order to receive our federal funds, and we have to show that we've had the training, we do vector training and mandated reported training for our school districts, and that we are not going to discriminate anybody from using funds and so forth, or that our funds go to programs that people have been trained, and that so I need a motion to approve the assurance of compliance, because we have done all this, and with our staff, and that we have our Title IX coordinators, Christine Jostock, our district human rights officer, that's what I meant to say earlier, is myself, and then, or the superintendent, and then section 504 coordinator is also Christine Jostock. So,
Any questions, discussion?
Motion to approve the assurance of compliance.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Action on Minnesota State High School League Foundation Form A resolution.
yeah, so this is a resolution that we also approve, and I know that Brad Hacken and the activities office is filling out the paperwork in order to see if we do qualify and so forth for any funding, for any grants to assist member school districts to offset student activity fees and so forth. It is something though that high school league requires that we have the board complete a resolution in order to do that. So if someone, you can read the resolution and then.
If you want to read that, go for it.
Yeah, so.
I've got it right here.
Go ahead.
Resolution of Governing Board supporting Form A application of Minnesota State High School League Foundation. Whereas the Minnesota State High School League Foundation was formed to provide support for Minnesota's high school youth to participate in athletics and fine arts. Whereas the Governing Board of Byron School District Number 531, Byron Public Schools, recognizes the value of student participation in extracurricular activities, and whereas the Minnesota State High School League Foundation is offering grants and funding to assist schools in recognizing, promoting, and funding extracurricular participation by high school students in athletic and fine arts programs. Therefore, be it resolved that the Governing Board of Byron Public Schools supports the school's application to the Minnesota State High School League Foundation for a Form A grant to offset student activity fees, signed Dwayne Quam and Heather Holmes.
I believe we need a roll call vote for the resolution.
Motion to approve the MSHSL Foundation Form A.
Second?
Motion been made, so you're good. Motion been made and seconded. Roll call vote.
Yep. David?
Aye.
Heather? Aye. Lisa?
Aye.
Dwayne?
Aye.
Jeremy?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
All right, carries unanimously. All right, next is action on budget committee.
Yep, so we just need a final approval. This is a proposal for the Byron Budget Committee. Again, this is different than the Finance and Facilities. What this group will do is it's part of the board. It's like the Personnel Committee and the Policy Committee. And there will be, when meetings are made, then, or meetings are set up, then they will have the 3 days notice ahead of time. And what this committee will, it's made up of the superintendent, the finance director, 3 school board members, 1 principal, 1 director, 2 staff, well, 1 being licensed staff, 1 being support staff, and 2 community members. And the 3 school board members that are assigned at this time until January are Heather as the treasurer, Jeremy and David. The principal will be Abe Rodemeyer and the director will be Jen Hegna, and they have people that will fill in for them if they can't make those meetings. The meetings are held or set up quarterly, but there will be times when we'll have information about adopted budgets or whatever, revised budgets, that we may meet more than that. Otherwise, we'll for sure have one each quarter. Some of the things that are, some of these are topics that could be discussed, everything from adopted revised budgets, like I said, to fund balances, to future expected expenses, legislative information pertaining to school budgets, long-term facility maintenance, anything that the finance director would want to come and, you know, could even be, we have a big purchase of a school bus coming up, here's how we're gonna fund it, make sure everybody understands, make sure those people can ask questions, and then bring whatever information that needs to be brought to the school board, or to the board, to them, and then any information that we need to get out to the community, we'll get out, but it's, many people looking at our budgets, you know, on a regular basis.
One change to this, I know we had talked, David, you were interested, but now you're unable to make the November meeting. So I guess between Matt and Lisa, is there an interest from one of you to be assigned as we create this? No? Matt? You interested in being assigned to this? David's unable to make the November 18th meeting. It'll be meeting before our meeting on the 18th.
Yeah, 'cause I've got jury duty coming up the week of the 11th,
Well, hopefully.
so I'm not sure how far that's gonna go in, so I don't know if I can commit or can't. I mean, I think it's for 2 weeks, I think, so I'm not sure if I could or couldn't make it, depending on how that goes.
Okay. Well,
And
I
if
guess
we- if we have-
But if he can't make it, then
That needs to
if
be
you wanna do it, that's fine. Yeah, we'll just remove David's name and we'll put you on there.
June 6th, yeah.
just for this one.
It'd be just for the one, yeah, because whoever the chair is come November will assign the next set of committees.
Okay, and that's the 18th at 4:30.
Correct. All right, we'll put your name in there then. If you're able to make it, awesome. If not, they'll just do
then-
it too anyway.
And then in January, when the new board starts, then that's what, one of the committees that they'll pick for their organization meetings,
Exactly.
who's gonna be part of this budget committee.
Yep.
So I just need a final approval that this is a go.
Okay, so do I have a motion regarding the creation of the budget committee as presented?
I make a motion to create the budget committee as presented.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. Next, action on resolution MOU READ Act.
Yep, and I talked about this at the last meeting as well, and so this is a MOU that state wants us to put together with the Byron Education Association. It's money that's given to the school districts to support the READ Act, and it's to pay teachers and any licensed staff people who complete the READ Act. And for some districts, it's to help pay for people outside the school day because some of them didn't do the extra days. We, as a school district, did one extra day, one extra staff development day per quarter, along with our other staff development days to be able to do it during the school day. So we didn't have to pay all of our teachers outside and expect them to do it outside the school day and so forth. However, we are still gonna receive about $84,000. So part of that's gonna be going towards training. Part of it will be going that once they complete the training and pass their test that they need to take, that they can turn that in, and then next summer, they will get a stipend depending on which level they were at, because there's a phase 2, there's a preschool, early childhood, that's a little bit less than what they had to do for phase 1, excuse me, and then early childhood, and then there's a phase 2 the following year. So we've worked, and Jeremy was part of that. We worked with the BEA to come up with this resolution as we move forward. But it also sets aside that needed funds, that if we do have somebody coming in the next couple of years that's not trained, that we're able to get them the material as well as pay for subs to give them a release time to be able to go and do the training and get licensed and so forth, or get that certificate. We'll see, Pelsby, the licensing, state licensing, hasn't exactly said what they're gonna do if someone doesn't have it. It's just expected to have it, and we'll see, so.
Well, I don't have it in front of me. I don't know if anybody else does and wants to read.
I'll read it if you want. You want me to go all the way down to bottom?
Yeah, well, I don't know if you need to go all the way down to the bottom.
Say-
Well, yeah.
Whereas the district and union are parties to a collective bargaining agreement, CBA, for the period from July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2025, and whereas the district and union desire to address the time commitment, compensation, schedule, location of training, and deadlines for teachers required to complete the state of Minnesota mandated READ Act trained, and whereas the specific training will be a program called CORE, learning also known as OL and LA, which consists of 9 modules. Whereas the total anticipated number of hours and training required for core, OL, and LA is 70 hours. Now be it resolved that the parties agree to the following. Eligibility. The union and district will establish a list of eligible teachers who must, 1, hold a license issued by the Professional Educator Licensing and Standards Board, and be employed and trained by the district between August 1st, 2024 and June 30th, 2026, and be required by the district to complete approved training described under Minnesota Statute 120B.123 in subdivision 5, and is employed by the district at the time of the stipend payout. Compensation earned for the READ Act trading is listed below. Credit recognition is listed below. Proof of completion is listed below. Final dispensation of the READ Act funding upon completion of the READ Act training, approximately August 1st, 2026, the remaining money in the designated fund, less $25,000 set aside for possible need to the 2026-2027 school year, will be split evenly between all persons that have previously earned a READ Act stipend from Byron Public Schools, as long as they are still employed by Byron Public Schools on September 1st, 2026. This extra stipend will be paid out to those eligible on September 1st, 2026. On August 1st, 2027, any remaining money from the aforementioned $25,000 saved will be split and distributed in the same manner to those persons that previously earned a READ Act stipend from Byron Public Schools, as long as they are still employed by Byron Public Schools on September 1st, 2027. This extra stipend will be paid out to those eligible on September 1st, 2027.
Any discussion around the resolution as it's been read?
Motion to approve the resolution, MOU READ Act.
Motion is made and seconded. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Yep. David?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
Lisa?
Aye.
Dwayne?
Aye.
Jeremy?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Carries. Next, we have action on resolution write-in votes, which Jeremy is going to read rather than Matt this time.
Jeremy will read it, yes.
I'll read it.
Resolution requiring the tally of write-in votes only if write-in votes are greater than a ballot candidate's total votes. Whereas Minnesota Statutes 204B.09 subdivision 3 provides that a school board may adopt a resolution governing the counting of write-in votes for school board elections. The resolution may require that write-in votes for an individual candidate for the school board only be individually recorded if the total number of write-in votes for that office is equal to or greater than the fewest number of non-write-in votes for a ballot candidate, and whereas the write-in vote counting process can be overly time-consuming and require resources that does not result in a change of election results unless a single write-in candidate receives the most votes for election. Therefore, be it resolved that the School Board of Independent School District Number 531 requires that write-in votes for an individual candidate for the school board will only be individually recorded if the total number of write-in votes for that office is equal to or greater than the fewest number of non-write-in votes for a ballot candidate. If not enough people filed for open positions and one of the open positions need to be filled by a write-in candidate, then all write-in votes will be counted. This resolution shall remain effective for all future elections until and unless the school board rescinds this resolution.
Any discussion or questions around the resolution as it's been read? Entertain a motion. Entertain a motion.
I would move to adopt a resolution concerning write-in votes for all future school board elections of the Byron School District.
Motion's been made and seconded. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Yep. David?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
Lisa?
Aye.
Dwayne?
Aye.
Jeremy?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Carries. Next, we have the Z update, which I believe Mike is going to read.
Yep, so I talked to Carrie today. The percentage of ALC students who are in special education is growing, continue to grow, and we might need to hire another special education teacher for the ALC. There are currently 4 Setting 4 students who are transitioning back to their home district, and 1 student who has completely transitioned back, so that's terrific news that they're able to find that success. Some of our transition to success students, those are the older students who are past the high school but still go there between 18 and 22 years of age, are participating in the Special Olympics Minnesota Bowling coming up. And Birth to 3 is hosting a fall festival for families on November 24th. So, so if there's any information, they can look on the ZED website. I'm sure we have it here as well, so. Okay.
All right. Next, Byron City Council update.
I wasn't able to be there last week.
All right, so we'll update there. On the consent agenda, it was brought forward that we, member would like to talk about the resignation of C. Crandall, special ed teacher, effective 10/29, item E.B.
I was just wondering if we are, and actually, I think Marie answered the question then, because we're not rehiring for him, is that right?
No, we are.
We are.
Right now, we posted the position to see, we didn't hire last year at the high school because of our numbers at the high school. We didn't have to, we could be down one teacher.
And where's Mr. Crandall? Where was he?
Ms. Crandall?
Oh,
Ms.
okay.
Crandall is at the middle school.
Middle school,
She
okay.
was hired in August to start and then realized that she wanted to do something else.
Okay.
And so it is posted, and we just have to try to find somebody at this stage, but I know that there's other options that they're looking at, either as a long-term substitute to start or whatever until we can find someone, so.
And if they don't find a replacement, then do the other teachers just absorb? I mean, are we still within our license if other teachers absorb?
Well, they would have to, but we think that we're gonna be able to find at least some long-term subs, and then we'll see. I don't know if we have any interns that are in special education licensed that we use with Winona, but if they're not, sometimes we can get people that wanna come back and, or they could do the second half of the year every day, but they'd have to be on if they're not licensed in special education, they could do a out-of-field placement if they wanted to do that. But I think Mr. Swanson and Marie have some leads moving forward, so we're crossing our fingers that they come through.
Yeah, they usually do. Any other items on the consent agenda any other members would like to discuss?
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the consent agenda in its entirety now.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, consent agenda is passed. Next, we have donations.
Right. So far, we've got $100 for bear packs from Leo and Mary Loosebrook. An anonymous donor gave us $9,518 for 2 sousaphones and 2 wall mounts. That's a lot of money. Salem Road Church gave us $325 for bear packs, and Byron Methodist Church did $200 for our bear packs.
Motion to approve donations as read by the treasurer.
Motion's been made and seconded. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Yep, Heather,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
Jeremy,
Aye.
Matt,
Love me some sousaphones.
Lisa,
Yep.
Dwayne.
Aye, I'm assuming. It was an aye, Mr. Pergy.
Aye.
Carries unanimously. All
The marching team.
right. Seeing there is no information or miscellaneous items.
One thing,
Okay.
I just want to remind you and remind everybody who's here that the next meeting, because there is a music festival here and all the rooms and everything will be, we didn't realize that when it was booked and all that. We don't want to be, unless you want to join in and sing or do whatever. We will be having the November 4th meeting at the district office. So, okay.
All right, and that'll be on that
That's a
then.
work session meeting, but just want to let you know, and it'll be, when we send out the agenda and stuff, it'll be on there, that's at the district office.
All right. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, we're adjourned.
Good luck to all the teams. Congrats. Great accomplishments.
No.
There we go.
Oh, okay.